Good afternoon and welcome to episode number 70 of the Be More podcast. Now, this is going to be, I've basically had a long, hard think over the direction that I want to take the podcast in 2019. So 2018, I always like to think of anything, like any endeavour that I go into. Like the first year is always like the trial year, whereby I'm always trying little things, learning from what I'm doing and trying to basically figure out the best way to move forward with the podcast and what I want to get out of it and like what I want to produce, the content that I want to bring, the value that I want to bring. So I've just been sat over the weekend thinking, right, where do I want to take the podcast? So I know recently I was trying to strive towards getting it to 100 episodes. I then decided against that. And now this weekend, a bit of reflection, which is something I do every Sunday, by the way, like a massive reflection, at least an hour where I'll go through my goals and I go through what I'm heading like towards and assessing the direction that I'm taking. And this Sunday, I thought to myself, right, in 2019, I want to hit the podcast hard. I want to basically use it as a weekly review almost. And every single week, I normally get through a book or I'll learn certain things from what I'm reading, and I'm also going to document like lessons that I'm having in business, in entrepreneurship, in health, in exercise, basically everything that I'm doing. I'm just documenting what I'm doing, and I'm going to use the podcast to give you like a weekly review and a book review with that. And also every single week I'm going to try and interview people for the podcast, at least one or two people a week. And basically, what I was doing earlier in the year was getting guests on the podcast, and I actually really enjoyed that. Not only was I getting to know more people, making more friends, but also discovering the way different people operate and gaining a lot of perspective on different people's circumstances. And it just brought lots of value to me, and it inspired me massively. So basically, I want to go back to that and do that more frequently. So expect in 2019 lots of guests. I've been speaking to people already, trying to line them up for the beginning of next year. So January is already looking very, very tasty. Lots of awesome guests coming on, awesome stories to share with you, just to make you realise like anyone can do it. Because if you hear my voice over and over and over again, you'll think, oh, this is just like the same message. Whereas if we get different stories coming on of different people who are living like the Be More brand, the Be More lifestyle, like the whole mindset of being better than being more than average, and being brave and being courageous and living a life like you only live it once. Because lots of people tend to almost forget that, and they just literally are just going through the day to day, rather than getting from the day, they're getting through it. And this is something that I'll speak about a lot, which is like a Jim Rohn quote. So today, the podcast is going to be all about literally my week last week and the lessons that I got from it. And I'm going to go through what I actually do on a Sunday. So I've got a best self journal. I've spoken about that a lot on the podcast before. It's basically like a 13-week journal, and every Sunday you reflect on the week that's just gone. And these are some of the questions that the journal actually asked me, which I like the questions that they ask, so that's why I'm going to use them today. But they basically asked to go over the habits and activities that I should be implementing to take me towards my goals. Am I doing them? And it gives you like a score almost as well for the week. And then the next question is, what is the happiest event that happened this week? Just like a little bit of gratitude, I think, is within that as well, to make you think, oh, this is a happy event. It takes you back to that, and it just programs your mind to think more like positively. And it's an awesome way to look at the week as well. So you start with reflecting on habits, then you look at the happiest moment. So just think, what was the best thing that happened this week? And then 3 big wins for the week. So I wrote down my 3 big wins. I actually wrote 4 because I've had a particularly good week. And then reviewing the goals and assess your progress. How did you spend your time this week, and how will you improve next week? So there's always room for improvement, and I basically use it as an opportunity to think to myself, right, what was I doing this week? Could I basically become more productive with my time? Could I manage my time differently, more effectively? What can I do to improve next week? And I write that down and aim to literally be better every single week based on my current performance, because yeah, you're only as good as your last innings. So that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to sharpen and improve. And then I also ask myself the question, what was the biggest lesson you learned this week? And basically the main thing that I got from this, and obviously this is like something that's quite known in business now, is the 80-20 rule. Not even in business, but in anything that you do really. The statistic is, or the saying is that you get 80% of your results come from 20% of what you actually do, or 80% of your business comes from 20% of your people, or it could be 80% of your results in your body comes from 20% of what you're doing. So it could be the way you eat, it could be the way you exercise, and it could be like your macronutrient breakdown, whatever it might be, right? And these little things are the main yielder of results, if you like, and they create the biggest amount of results. The 80% comes from 20% of what you're doing. So there's a book on that. It's called the 80-20 Rule. It's awesome. Definitely recommend reading it. But the book I'm going to be reviewing today, so that's basically my Sunday, by the way. So if you like them questions, write them down, then ask yourself the questions on a Sunday, or even better, get yourself a best self journal. They're quarterly journals, basically. So if you think of next year, you'd get through 4 of them journals if you started in January. And every journal, basically, you're making and setting big goals for yourself. And as long as you're doing the do, by the end of the year, you'd have achieved unbelievable things. And I've used that journal all year, about 4 different ones. And I'm excited to do them all again next year. They're definitely something I get a lot of value from. So, as you know, I think I've already reviewed it slightly. I've been reading a book by Tony Robbins called Awaken the Giant Within. And it is a monster. It is a massive book. And it's a book that I've had in my bookcase now for about 18 months to 2 years. Like, it's a timeless classic that it's been around for quite a long time, maybe like 20 years now. And I've just bought it because obviously it's such a well-known book, and I think Tony Robbins is a massive thought leader. And I bought it off a recommendation. I remember it arriving at my house, and it was so big, and I was just like, I think I'm going to read that one first, like a different book, because it was smaller, and I just didn't think I could get to the end of it. So finally, I decided to read the book after having again a conversation about Tony Robbins. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to read this book, Awaken the Giant Within. Let's see if we can awaken the giant within myself. So basically, I've been on this book now for a good 6 weeks. Normally it takes me about a week to read a book, but I've just finished it just over a week ago, and since I've read 2 more books since, 2 smaller ones, but probably one of the best books I've ever read. And I reckon I've read about 100 books this year. And it is up there, without a doubt, top 5 books I've read of all time. It is definitely a book that I'll read again. And I've actually just spent about an hour yesterday as well, creating basically a list of the books that I want to read from now, moving into 2019. Like, I made a list of 20 books that I want to read, and some of them are ones that I'm rereading because I've got so much value from them. And I know now that I've grown as a person that I would get different things from it. So there are books that I would definitely read every single year. And I got this from someone who I train, who's a very successful businessman, and I learned so much from him. And basically one of the things he taught me early on was he literally reads the same 5 books year in, year out. So in January he'll pick up these 5 books again and go again. And these 5 books, I always remember them. They are Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. What was the other ones called? It will come to me. But Richest Man in Babylon, I think, is one of them. The One Thing. What was the other one called? It's going to really annoy me now. But basically, 5 books. My other one might be The Science of Getting Rich as well. But basically, he reads these 5 books year in, year out, and he gets more from them every time. So I was like, right, what books did I really enjoy last year? I'm going to reread them, and I'm going to add in a few little ones that I've not got round to reading yet, that I've already bought. So basically, whenever I get a book recommendation, I'll just go and buy it on Amazon, and it goes in my shelf, and I've got an order now of ones that I want to get through. But yeah, massive tangent. But these are some of the findings that I've took from Awaken the Giant Within. So hopefully I can give you enough value in this podcast to make you think, don't even need to read the book now. But I do definitely recommend it, because there's a lot of activities within the book as well, which is why it took me so long to read it, because it gets you to actually do things throughout the book where you write down like goals and stuff. And I've actually applied a lot of the stuff that I read in that book into my daily life. Like, I've got like a vision board now on the inside of my mirror in my bathroom. So like every single morning I literally open up my mirror, it's like a cupboard, and on the inside I've got my goals, like a vision board, and on the inside of one of like the cupboard, there's like a morning questions and evening questions that I ask myself every day. And these are just things that I've got from that book. So there's so much to be taken from it, so I would definitely recommend reading it. or audio in it, but you won't get the questions if you audio it. So I definitely would recommend reading it and go through all the activities. Like, it's a game changer, absolute game changer. But I've basically taken down some key points from the book that I want to talk about, and I've basically been listening to a podcast like that's doing similarly to what I'm about to do now. Like, he basically reads books, like self-help books, personal development books, and he basically gives you like a 30 minute breakdown of what you can expect to see in the book, to give you more information, to make you think, actually, that sounds like that'd be worthwhile me reading. So I'm basically going to try and do that, and try and basically teach or talk about the things that I've learned. So whenever I'm reading now, I went through a stage of reading book after book after book, and I used to think to myself, what have I actually taken from that? So then I started taking notes on the things that I wanted to learn, or the things that I wanted to program into my mind deeper and deeper, because all of this is doing, like, all of this personal development for me is just reconditioning my brain, because I'm someone who's got, just like most people, right? We're programmed and conditioned to think like everyone else, like of a job mindset, generally negative thinking, and these are things that would hold me back in my life. So I'm basically reading all these books now to try and program my mind to think differently, to think and talk to myself in a more positive way, and think bigger for myself, because I've started to go on this like entrepreneurial journey now for a couple of years now, and I'm always learning. And the main thing that I'm learning is it's all down to me. Like, and everything in life, just take complete ownership, because it is all down to you, no matter what it is you're doing. Like, the government are not going to change the way the world is, unfortunately. Like, they aren't going to change the obesity epidemic. They aren't going to change all of these bad things that happen in the world right now are not going to be changed by the government. But people who are crazy enough to think that they can have a massive impact are often the ones who do. So I'm literally believing in myself more and more every day that I can have a huge impact on people simply by improving myself as a person. And what value then can I bring to people? And the more value that I can bring, the more people I can then help. And that's just a passion and a goal of mine. So I've just thought to myself, right, I need to go back to school. I need to learn. I need to become better at communicating. I need to become better at inspiring people. I need to become better at motivating people. Again, I've gone off on a massive tangent, but these are basically things that I've decided that I need to do. Hence why I now read books every day. And like, the goal is way bigger than myself, which is something I always recommend to people. Like, make your purpose in your life about something that is bigger than you, because for a long time my goals would always be about me. Like, it would be doing a competition, or it would be about doing a photo shoot, or it would be about how much money can I make, or whatever it might be. Like, it would never be like about a goal that's bigger than myself. And if I look back on my business, that when I was a personal trainer, the things that actually got me most fired up and got me most like consistent would be things for other people, things for my clients, etc. So this made me realise, like, now if I can focus my goals around the impact that I have, maybe that will change the direction of my activity year to year, month to month, week to week. And now literally I was thinking to myself yesterday, I've gone off on so many tangents already, by the way, it's only 13 minutes into this podcast, but I was reading my book yesterday morning, and I thought to myself, it was a Sunday morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was sat there with my morning supplements and my book, and I was thinking to myself, how long will I be doing this for? Like, I reckon I'm about 6 months in now, maybe a bit longer, of doing it every single day. Like, I have not missed a day, where in the morning I'm reading my book. First thing, all I do is I'll read for at least half an hour. I'm on my own, no one's around, I've got my shake tea, and I'm sat there and I'm just literally in my clothes. Like, I get dressed, put a little mat over, like a little blanket over my legs to keep me warm, and I sit there and I just literally am on my own with my book. And I'm doing my personal development, I'm working on myself, I'm trying to improve myself as a person. I was thinking, I'm like 6 months in a row now, I'm actually proud of myself for getting to this point, and I can't see it ever stopping, right? And I was listening to a podcast the other day with David Goggins and Joe Rogan, and they were saying about that there is no end, like there is no like, that there is no point where you think to yourself, I've accomplished that now, that it's a never-ending journey. And I was thinking to myself, when will I stop doing this morning routine, or is it literally something I'm going to continue to do? And I get so much enjoyment out of that little half an hour to an hour where my phone's off, or my phone's on one side, and I literally just sit there with my book and I'm with myself, improving myself, and it gives me like an incredible feeling of like empowerment, inspiration, makes me feel good. So yeah, I couldn't recommend it highly enough, guys. But I don't even know why I was getting to that. But yeah, let's go over the points that I want to talk about from this book, shall we? Because I'm like 14 minutes in now, and I'm just literally waffling on. But I'm just excited. It's a Monday. I was going to say it's my favourite day of the week, but I think every day of the week now is my favourite. Now that I'm living it like on my terms, like I'm just so excited for every single day, and I'm just grateful for everything that I've got. And these are things that I've actually noticed in myself that I've almost improved just from the last 2 books that I've read. So Awaken the Giant Within, say the last 3 books I've read, and then one of the books I'm reading at the moment is called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and the book before that was Questions Are the Answers. So these are the last 3 books that I've read, and now I've realised like the power from Questions Are the Answers of like body language. I'm actually going to do a podcast on that at some point from the things that I took from that book, but it was an unbelievable book. I read it within like 3 or 4 days, and I just got so much value from it. And a lot of it's about like our body language and like the way we communicate and like the tone of our voice and like the way we position ourselves when we're in a conversation with someone. Like just learning so much. What was I even talking about then? But yeah, actually the thing that I was talking about, the inside of my mirror, the thing that I got from the Tony Robbins book, has actually started changing the way that I think, because of the questions that I'm asking myself daily. And all these books, they tend to teach similar kind of things, right? So the one at the moment is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and it's like self-talk. And on the back of the book it says you don't have to be crazy to talk to yourself. And I used to think people who talk to themselves are crazy, but this morning I read a part of the book that said basically when you're in the shower in the morning, talk to yourself. Like say, "Morning, Jack, how you doing?" And then literally just speak really positively. And it said you're going to feel weird doing this for the first time. And I did it this morning. I was like, I do feel really weird, but I guarantee when you walk out the shower, you feel really good. So basically what I did is I opened up my bathroom mirror. So I'm in the shower and I'm asking myself my power questions from Tony Robbins. I'm talking to myself about my power questions and about like the day I've got ahead, what I'm grateful for, how I feel, like looking at my vision board. And I literally go out the shower and I felt so grateful. Ran out to my girlfriend, like just told her all about it. And like, I can't explain to you how much these little things that you're listening to me now thinking, Jack, you've gone nuts. But these little things make such a big difference in how you feel. So yeah, follow me and stay close to, like, stay with me basically to what I'm saying, because it might sound like I'm being a bit rah-rah, but these are things that if you implement, that they can create such powerful results, and they can just change the way you think. And if you change the way you think, like everything can change, like just from one day, the way you have conversations with people that you're around, like the vitality you have in yourself, like just the way you think, how you respond, all these different things that can be so powerful. Like if you're in like a job where you're around people all the time, like imagine if you attract different people into your life because of the way you speak and the way you think. And these are things that are going to happen, like, and they're only going to happen when you open your mind to realize that it's all down to how you operate and how you think. And these are all things that we can certainly become a master of and change. Hopefully this is good stuff, guys. If you're enjoying this, like, give me like a little screenshot, stick it on your Instagram story, tag me in it, let me know what you think. And give me a review as well if you're not already on the podcast, because I do want to really get feedback so I can almost produce content via this podcast and through my YouTube channel and through Instagram, social media, etc. that brings value, because I don't want to just sit here talking to my camera and talking to the microphone without actually giving you direct value. So all the time, give me feedback, guys. I love it. But I'm going to go through the points now, because otherwise we're going to be here for a very lengthy podcast. But here's point number 1 that I wrote down. People overestimate 1 year, what they can achieve in 1 year, but underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years. How true is that, by the way? So imagine, like, look back to where you were in January 2018, this year. The things that you were setting your goals to yourself. You might not have hit them, but were you possibly overestimating what you were going to achieve this year? Then if you look back at 2012, 2013... have you achieved more as a person since then than you thought you might? And I know for myself, like 100%, I couldn't have imagined that I'd be doing this 5 years ago. Whereas in January this year, to be fair, this has been my best year ever, so I can't really compare. But a different year, like I would definitely overestimate what I was going to achieve. But then underestimate what you could achieve in 5 years. So this is true, right? So think to yourself, use that as a task for yourself. Like, what have I achieved this year, or what am I trying to achieve next year? But also think to yourself, like, don't underestimate what you can achieve in 5 years if you stay in the game. How good is this as well, by the way? 10% of people who buy a book read past the first chapter. 10%. How mental is that? Who buy a book, read past the first chapter. And a lot of people actually who've read, well, I've spoken to about Awaken the Giant Within, they said the same. They were like, yeah, it was just too big. I read a little bit and I thought it was good, but I didn't read the whole thing. 10% of people, that's 1 in 10, that's 10 in 100, that's 100 in 1,000 of people only read past the first chapter. Mental, isn't it? So don't be that statistic of 90% of people who don't get past the first chapter. Buy a book that I would recommend, or that anyone recommends, and read it all the way through. The only books I've not read all the way through are the ones that I don't get value from, or the ones that don't engage me. I used to try and persist with them because I was like, I can't not finish it. I've started it now. But now I just think this is giving me no value. I'm just going to quit. Quit while I'm ahead. Get a better book. Get a different book. Change the direction. Same with like an exercise program. If you get a program and you find that it's not really challenging you, don't persist, because it isn't going to challenge you. It isn't going to change you. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Right, next thing. In life, lots of people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. How true is that? Knowing is not enough. You must take action. How true is that? And as someone who's worked in the fitness industry for a long, long time, I would often speak to people and they're like, oh yeah, I know that. And I'm like, well, that's great, but your results don't suggest that you are acting on it. So this is like thinking to yourself, like, are you where you want to be in your own training, in your own health? The likelihood is you know what you need to do. Why aren't you doing it? Do you need to know more? Probably not. You just need to put one step in front of the other and learn in the do. Learn when you're doing, because people want so much information. They literally keep searching and searching for more and more information. They watch so many YouTube videos. They read so many different like articles on getting in shape or abs or whatever it might be. Round delts, bloody building a bigger bum. They read so much information. They're like, oh yeah, I know that. I'm like, well, where are your results? They're like, oh, I'm still trying to find the best way. Stop looking for the best way. Learn by doing. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from the results that you get. Learn from like research while doing. It's the key. The key to success is being in action. Like, it's from the activity. And this is so true. Like, you get so many like keyboard warriors, and there's probably people who are going to hate on this podcast or hate on a bit of content that I produced this month. But these are just people that are sat behind a keyboard doing nothing with their life other than criticising other people. And guess what? Like, you should never, ever, ever let that stop you. Never let the fear of critics stop you from going out and being the person that you want to be, or doing the things that you want to do, or trying like a new thing in 2019. Don't worry about what people will think of you. Just go out there and do it. Trust me. Fear, that stands for false evidence appearing real. It's not even real. And these critics, guess what? Here's something for you. If you want to write this one down, there's never ever been a statue erected for a critic. So don't worry about what anyone thinks or about anyone's opinion. Just go out there and do you and be yourself. And just learn from doing. Rant over. Next point. We are digging our graves with our teeth. This was a quote that was in that book, and I was like, how true is that? Are you becoming a statistic? 1 of every 2 Americans die of heart disease. 1 of every 3 Americans die of cancer. All things that can be prevented, or things that you can put in a change in your lifestyle that can help to contribute towards preventing these kinds of illnesses happening for yourselves or happening for the people around you, by simply helping them to realise that no, you shouldn't have this problem, but you have it because of your consistent behaviours in your lifestyle that are leading to you having these problems with your health. Are you eating yourself into your grave? Change your habits if you are, because that is not a very clever thing to do. How goes this one, by the way? Repetition is the mother of skill. So this just literally comes back down to anything, right? Anything you do repetitively is going to give you an outcome. Just like people who are getting heart disease and cancer from lifestyle habits, it's something they're doing consistently over time. That you're not just going to get cancer or you aren't going to get heart disease from eating one burger. Chill out. You can do one thing. Like, I've never said to anyone that you shouldn't eat badly once, like, or every now and then. Everything is fine, but it's something. The things that I've done over and over and over again isn't good. Like alcohol, it's fine. Like, I don't personally drink anymore, but I never say to anyone that it's bad. Like, alcohol is fine. Too much alcohol is bad. Same as with anything, even like food, like healthy food. Too much healthy food is also bad because there's too many calories in your diet, and that equals weight gain. That then leads to health problems. Like, too much of anything is bad. So just have like an open mind with everything. Even like reading books. Read too many books is probably going to be bad because it takes you out of actually doing. It takes you out of the activity. It takes you out of actually making strides towards where you want to get to. But you can read the books and change your direction and create better time management and do more with your time. But only if you're actually, when you're doing the actual work, you're actually achieving things. Does that make sense? Because some people will just get so caught up in the personal development that they'll read and read and read, and they don't actually do anything. They just keep reading different books and learning. Like, it's great, you've got all this knowledge, but then what are you doing with that knowledge? Are you applying that to add value to others? Are you applying that to build your business? Are you applying that to make you a better person and to be like a better father, mother, housewife, whatever it might be? Housewife, that was a bit of a weird one. What do I think of that? Next. The Niagara Syndrome. I believe I've spoken about this a little bit on the podcast before. I know I've done it a few times when I've been speaking at events. Are you somebody... Basically, the Niagara Syndrome is, the whole idea of it is, as like when we're born, we're thrown into the river. And throughout our life, like when you're a little baby, you can't really control what you do. As you get older, you start to become more conscious of your actions and how they have consequences, right? Yet so many people are in the river and they just keep coasting through the river. No matter what happens, they're hitting the waves and they're going wherever. They have no, like, there is no map for where they want to go. They're not on a boat. They don't have any direction to where they want to go. They're just literally sat in the river, and every now and then they'll come to a massive, like, fall, and they'll smash a rock, head on a rock, and they'll go down into the bottom of this bloody Niagara Falls, whatever it might be, and they're not in control of their life. And that's the whole point of the Niagara Syndrome, which I really, really enjoyed, because it makes you think, like, are you somebody who is went in the river but actually determining your direction? And this is things that we can all do, but how many people do you know who are in the river of life and they're literally just a result all the time of the things that happen around them, that they're not even in control of their life? They just think that this is like a set outcome. What will be, and I have no control over that. Like, my weight will be my weight. I'm going to gain 2 stone this year. That's what's supposed to happen. No, it's just because you're eating too much. You have no control over what you're doing or where you're going. Same as in your job. I'm not going to get a pay rise this year because my manager's an arsehole. No, it's probably because you're not doing the work. And it might come down to the fact that you aren't motivated by your manager, but that doesn't really matter. You take ownership of what you have to do and you do it, regardless of the fact that your manager motivates you or not. That's your job to go and do. And you know that for you to move up to the next point in the business or in the company, these are things that you need to execute on, regardless of who your manager is and regardless of the person who's giving you the jobs to do. Don't blame other people for your results. And then it's the same in the river. Like, don't blame the waves because you ended up to where you didn't want to be. You are in control of where you get to in your life. That's the Niagara Syndrome. Hope you like that too. Only a few more points now, guys, and then I will get off this podcast because we're going for almost half an hour now. But if you're like listening to this while you train or while you're on a run or something, hopefully it's making you push further and go harder than making you think, oh, hurry up, Jack, and get off. So, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. How many people live their life like that? Like, whereby they don't really like their circumstances, they don't like their job, they don't like the relationship they're in, they don't like the fact that they're not being treated very well, yet they continue in that relationship or in that job because it's better than not knowing. Like, it's better than the unknown. They'd rather be unhappy in the know than be unhappy or be in the unknown, you know? So don't be someone who applies this into your life. Like, if you're in a position where you're not really happy with like your relationship or your job or anything in your life, change it. Trust me, change it. Because life's too short. Life is way too short, and trust me, when you're on your deathbed, you'll think to yourself, why did I wait any longer in that relationship, or why did I do that job any longer than I should have done, on the basis of better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. How cool is that? How true is that? Next, start with the end in mind. This comes down to goals now, really, which I've got quite a lot of quotes and stuff to talk about goals. So I'll come back to that. Can I is a word basically that Tony Robbins created. It comes from the Japanese word kaizen, which is all about constant and never-ending improvement. So live a life where that is the focus, where you think to yourself, I just want to constantly, never-ending on a journey of improvement. The books I'm going to read, the exercise I'm going to do, like all these things, the person that I want to become, is it going to become a result of the journey that I'm on and the things that I'm going to do every single day to move me closer to where I want to be. Constant, never-ending improvement, and just focus on that. To be like, I'm going to just improve as a person, and I'm constantly in the game of improvement, improving myself. Next, immerse yourself in positive forms of communication. This is a bit that I've really, really enjoyed in the book. So, how mental is this? 1,051 words are in the dictionary that describe positive emotions. Yet, 2,081 words describe negative emotions. Double the amount of words in the dictionary describe negative versus positive emotions. And people wonder why we have like this negative conditioning or this negative thinking. But basically, immerse yourselves in positive forms of communication. Think to yourself like, right, how can I communicate in a way that is like way more positive? Rather than when someone asks you, how you doing, Jack? I'm no longer allowed to say, good mate, how are you? Which is what I would say, or I'm good, you? Or yeah, good, thanks, you? Just all these blunt, like average words. Instead now I'm like, I'm great, thanks. How are you, buddy? Or just something like super enthusiastic or something really positive, like, oh, fantastic, buddy, how are you? Or awesome, thanks, how are you doing? Like, or something that would make the actual person who I'm speaking to be like, wow, he's in a good mood. Like, be that kind of communicator, because that energy and them vibes will spread. And if we can create more and more people, or not create, but if we can just help more and more people to think more positively, imagine how like our community and how the people around us will think if we all start thinking in this way, like whereby every conversation is like, how are you doing, mate? Yeah, oh mate, what a weekend I've had. I did this. Like, I'm awesome, thanks. How are you? Like, keep conversations going. Like, be enthusiastic, be the energy, rather than when someone speaks to you, be like, I'm alright, you, or I'm okay, and not even asking back how the other person is. Yeah. How are you? Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Adding no value whatsoever, but be someone who's there, like adding value, being excited, using words that are exciting, are enthusiastic, are powerful, are day changers, game changers, day changers. Brighten people's days with the way you speak. And trust me, because the way you speak is your own self-talk, right? This will change the way you feel. Like, if you say to people, I feel fantastic, how are you? Like, how I've got now, like, I'm more excited. You can tell by the way I'm speaking. Whereas when I have to say, yeah, I'm alright, you, it doesn't give you that, like, enthusiasm or excitement. So change the way you speak and become more excited. What have I got next? I've only got a few more points, by the way, so I'm almost closing up now. So, setting goals is the first step to making the invisible visible. Are you setting goals for 2019? Make sure you are. Set time apart in the Christmas break on your own or with someone who you want to go on this journey with in 2019, where you're setting yourself some big goals, and just be like, right, what are my goals? And if you're someone who hasn't set goals before, there is an amazing video on YouTube under Jim Rohn's goal setting. It's like an hour-long video, I think, but it is worth it. Literally sit down with YouTube and Jim Rohn and a notepad and pen and work through your own goals. Trust me, it is powerful. And I would recommend doing that as like a long-term and a yearly goal setting thing, and also getting yourself a best self journal and doing some quarterly goals too, because breaking goals down from year into 3 months make them more like now. They're in the now. Like, your days count. Whereas over a space of a year, like a few days off doesn't really make a difference. Whereas in 90 days, it does. Like 7 out of 90 days, it can be a massive detriment to that 90-day progress. So I would recommend breaking goals down from like yearly, like 5 yearly, monthly, quarterly, doing them that way, like weekly, daily. That's what I recommend for goals. Giant goals produce giant motivation. So make sure that these goals aren't rubbish goals. Make sure they're not wet. Make sure they're actually things that make you get excited and think, and get out of bed and get after it. So when your alarm goes off in 2019, or even before, because it starts now, by the way, like the momentum you take in 2019 starts now. So when your alarm goes off, you're like, getting after your goals because they excite you, and the person that you're going to become, and the things that you're going to go and do, and the impact that you're going to go and have, makes you get out of bed when your alarm goes off, rather than snoozing it 68 times and thinking, it's Monday. Don't be that person. Get goals that fire you up. Giant goals produce giant motivation. Okay, that leaves you back to start of the end in mind. So obviously that is the key. Have a long-term goal in mind, and then know that in that long-term goal, there's loads of little goals and milestones along the way that you're going to achieve by doing the do daily. It comes in what you do every single day. That's what creates your long-term results. Now, the last point, it's a point that I really, really like. It's life is cumulative. So when you're setting your goals, when you're making your plans, realize that it's not about like a 21-day challenge, which is something that I'm promoting at the moment, but it's not about the 21 days. It's about the life. It's cumulative. So think to yourself, like, on the basis of what small disciplines can I add into my lifestyle that are going to bring value, that I can consistently do, not just for 1 month, not just for January, but for the whole of 2019 and arguably forever, because these are the things that are going to move you closer towards the person that you want to be, the healthier version of you, the more excited version of you, the more successful version of you, like all of the things that you want to achieve. What consistent daily habits are going to be worthwhile for you implementing with the can-I attitude of constant and never-ending improvement? Because these are, like, life is cumulative. You can't just do things and then expect to keep the results from what that activity has done, then stop. It's like doing an exercise video for a month and then stopping and expecting to keep the results that you got from it. Like, do not be deluded. Just base your activity on the results that you want to create and on things that you know you can consistently do. Like, I'm going to cut out chocolate in January, but then you're going to add it back in and binge on it in February. So what's the point? Instead, make decisions and make lifestyle changes that are going to produce results for you, not just for the time that you've got set on that goal, but forever. And that's how you want to be thinking, and that's the kind of message you want to be getting from people who you're getting advice from. Not just quick fix results, because it's not about a quick fix. It's about the results that you can get and keep. And that's the key. Like, for a long time I've worked in the fitness industry where it's all about quick results. It's all about, like, as a personal trainer, you have to deliver results to people instantly because they are paying for that result, right? And it's the same with the nutrition company that I'm working with now, like Herbalife Nutrition. There's 21-day challenges to get people moving and getting results. But then my education within that is like, right, your breakfast, this is what you're having for breakfast. This is not just for the challenge, like, this is to give you great results. But then realize that the way you feel with this wholesome, low calorie, high nutritionally dense shake, you can then feel better throughout the whole day, and it's going to give you results that you can never imagine possible, not just for the 21 days, but for a whole year. Imagine how you're going to feel. Like, I'm 9 months in now to using the products, and I've never felt better in my whole entire life. So when someone says to me, is it just a short thing? I'm like, well, no. Like, every single diet I've ever done has lasted no longer than 12 weeks. This is not a diet. This is a lifestyle. This is a simple breakfast in the morning. People do not have either an appetite or the finances available all the time to make this whole balanced meal that you should be having for your breakfast, like high protein, complex carbs, healthy fats. People haven't got the time or the money to be able to make and get the things in to make these things in the morning that you can get from a Herbalife smoothie, which is why I'm so passionate about promoting it. And I don't even know why I got around to that, but I'm basically just defending myself because I'm saying about making these lifestyle changes, and it's just education. It's just education around a company that people don't really understand, and I'm passionate about helping people with, because I know that all of the personal development and all the things that people need can be had in this company, and it's just an unbelievable opportunity. But that is the end of this podcast, 40 minutes long. unbelievable. I've got a few guests on the podcast this week, guys. I'm super excited. So I hope you've got value from this. And as always, make sure you leave me a review or screenshot, stick in your Instagram story. Hopefully you enjoyed it, guys and girls. Let me know if there's any other books that I've read as well that are on my Instagram or whatever that you would like me to do a review on, because I can go back and do that. I might do a review on the last book that I read, Questions Are the Answers. If anyone has any requests for that, then just let me know. Make sure you are contacting me with any questions that you have. Don't feel like you can't. So please make sure that you do, because I always want to try and, like I've said before, cater this content based on the audience and what you guys get value from. So thanks a lot for your time. Have an awesome week, and I will see you all very, very soon, hopefully. And if I don't see you before Christmas, have an amazing Christmas and a happy New Year, and I will see you very, very soon.